Well, so my guest for the morning, and I have Abraham Amaliba. Abraham Amaliba is a legal practitioner, and I have to ask him whether they're still on legal vacation. Are you still on legal vacation?
Yes, actually, the bar conference is ongoing.
Okay.
Yeah.
You didn't go?
He did it.
No.
You are not a member in good standing?
I am, but it's optional. I decided not to stay back and do
other matters
in Accra.
But when they were marching last year for the vote, he was the first to arrive.
Where?
When he came for the vote to elect your new president.
No. I've never attended bar conference since I was called to the bar 10 years ago.
Why? I've never attended.
Then you are...
Okay. And Sampai is the secretary.
I will speak with
who?
the president.
Nuchupi, okay.
So that he sanctions.
I think it's optional. You don't have to. So Sampai is the regional secretary for Ashanti MPP. And thanks for joining me, Sampai. All right. And we have to start the discussions. And we know that the free SHS policy took off in earnest on Monday. There was a formal official launch by the president on Tuesday. But we know that there have been some side issues that we have to talk about. You have to start first with Sampai. Your general observation since the program took off on Friday.
Yes, thank you, Ron. And a very good morning to your cherished viewers. As a matter of importance, I see education as one of the key things that every nation, in our quest to develop, especially this part of our world, is very important. So when you have governments or even individuals embarking on such ventures, I applaud that move. I'm very much grateful to the good Lord above and to the president and the team that put out that great idea. Parents are very happy about it. I am a tutor myself. Monday, Tuesday, when the schools reopened for admissions, I witnessed the joy and the enthusiasm of parents who came to some of these schools to get their kids or their wards enrolled, and that they had the opportunity not to pay a penny. And that what is saved in the packet will be important for them. Because if you have a charcoal seller or a tomato seller saving up to about 7,000 Ghana cedis for the 3 years, conservative savings, that amount can be invested in that charcoal business. The effects on the economy will be felt because that person is going to also pay taxes and revenue will come to government. There will be the need and the liability for the person also get the room and the leverage to also invest in other ventures and other responsibilities too. So it's a good thing that everybody is going to benefit. We're going to churn out people who will be far above average, because definitely if you're into education, the level of the JHS student and that of a senior high school student would differ. So when they have such skills or some knowledge, it's going to also be good for the nation. So the social implications for the society, for Ghana, for the individual is enormous. But we also admit that, yes, there were a few challenges where people, especially with the placement, but I know they're working on it so far. I believe that the pressure is going down and that just a few of them are still not gotten their names placed. But as stated by the Deputy Minister and the Minister, for up to September, definitely all of these students who qualify to enter the public senior high schools will get their names and they get them placed in their schools. Again, textbooks, especially the core textbooks. In my school, for instance, as at Monday, we had received English language, mathematics, integrated science, and social studies, not only for the Form 1 students, but also for Form 2 and Form 3. What is gratifying to notice that let me put it in quote, the progressive free system by the former president is still in place for the Form 2s and Form 3s. Other subsidies that were picked up by the government, other absorbed fees are still in place that they are also going to benefit. I was there when food from the Ghana buffer stock came to some of these schools and they distributed them. And I believe that, yes, as a nation, we all need to help. There may be infractions on the way, but as we identify them, we remedy them. Because I always talk about the Malaysian example, that the first 10 years of their existence as an independent state, they dedicated that 10 years to developing their educational system, especially the science and the technical education. And we know where it's taking them so far. So we don't need to make excessive politics out of this, but let's look at it as a nation and move forward and make sure that, yes, generations to come will also benefit. And you know, yesterday I was reading something on social media and some people were commenting that some of these students will benefit from the free maternal policy of the Kufuor administration. Those who are also benefiting from this free education. Therefore,
you read that on social media.
They are a group that is so fortunate in their parents. But if that is true, it tells you the kind of ideals that the MPP, even though people claim that we are property, whatever word that they use to describe us as if we don't want to share property with and wealth with others. But now we also go on the tangent of social democracy by making sure that a society benefits completely or to a larger extent from the nation, and therefore education, health, and all these matters that are being offered for the people's benefit will be for the improvement of all.
Abraham, your general observation since Monday?
Well, let me say that what we are witnessing is free first year SHS. That must be told, and this is a fact. He has even alluded that second and third years are on a different scheme. So, to be honest with the people of this country, let's agree, it is not in doubt that it is free first year SHS. For me, as a party, we cannot say that the implementation of the free SHS for the first years is bad. Because what is happening is building upon what we started, which is the progressively free education. We would have also gotten to this place, but we were saying that you need to put in place certain things first. Some of those things that we are talking about has manifested as we are speaking. Like schools not being able to contain students that have been posted there.
The infrastructure and the facilities.
The infrastructure. And that's why we embarked on massive, the E-blocks. Because you don't open the floodgates if you cannot contain the floodwaters. And some of the problems we are seeing now, where secondary schools are turning away students, like Manfi Secondary School, where it is reported that they only have a place for 400 and they've given them 800 and they are saying they should come back home. These are the things that we sought to avoid. But in principle, we never kicked against free SHS. If you want, you go to our 2016 manifesto at page 10, you will see the word progressively free education. And so I will not say that it's not a good idea. What I will also say, I only say is that the managers should ensure that we don't collapse the system, one, and two, we don't compromise with quality. Because I don't think that a parent will be excited to send his child to school, and when that child comes out, that child will be chaff. I'm sure a parent will be prepared to pay for the child to go to school, and when that child comes out of the school, he will be of substance. So quality should not be compromised. Then also, we shouldn't collapse the system. I'm talking about the collapsing of the system because coming from the northern part of this country, beginning from the Kufuor administration through to the Atamils to Mahama administration, and even now, the northern scholarship has not been regular. There has been problems with disbursement. Just for the 3 northern regions alone. Time without number, you've heard the schools closed down.
So your point is that it's not as if they are not in place, the systems are in place, but it's the consistency of the disbursement. Due to your fears of resource allocations?
Resource allocation. That has sometimes led to, indeed, let me confess, when it started happening in Kofo's administration, there were some of us who said that because the president is not from the northern part of Ghana, that's why it was happening. Little did we know that even in our time it will happen. You get the point? But it's about resources. If the resources are not there, they are not there. You can even be, your father can even be the president, but if the school you are attending, there's no resource, it will be closed down. So I've now learned my lessons. You get the point? So, two things. Let's not collapse the system, and let's not compromise with quality. But it's a good idea, and I've indicated that it's a build on what we have done. Today, when they were campaigning, I heard them say that the e-blocks that we put in our green book were Photoshop. The president said it. Then Nana Akufo-Addo asked it then was that these schools, they are Photoshop, they are not there. Today, as we speak, he's an educationist. Some students have been posted to those e-blocks that Nana Akufo-Addo said they were not in existence. You get the point? So, the problems that are emanating now, I want the managers to deal with it. For instance, a child from Ho who chose a school within his region has been posted to Kenesha Secondary Technical. That school is a day school. Now, if it's to continue to be in that school, it means that he has to rent an apartment or accommodation or a hostel. Now, would you call that free education?
I don't get you.
I'll let you get me. Free education means that you bath and just go to school. Will that boy be bathing and going to school just like that? He will be paying for an accommodation which is meant for him to enable him go to school. So that cost is connected to education. He's not paying for accommodation so as to go to work. Okay. It is in connection with the education. That is also cost. So what am I saying? I'm saying that the managers should address all these problems. Else it will defeat the purpose for which you are saying that education should be free. If that same child, the parent will have to still pay, and sometimes accommodation is even higher than the school fees. So I think that it's a good idea. It's come. We cannot say we will not accept it. We will accept it. And then what the manager should do is to address these teething problems as we go along. But two things I have indicated. The not compromising quality and not also collapsing the system.
Mr. Pine,
yes.
How could it be, or how can we be in a situation of one compromising quality and talking about the themes of all this policy, access and equity, or how can we improve on this? Or how can we also compromise on quality? In what situation or scenarios can we find ourselves in those?
You see, I'm surprised by the sudden U-turn of the NDC, that they never said they are against free SHS, when in fact we all know about the 30 adverts that they placed on TV, radio, newspapers, on their campaign vans, telling the whole world that it was a mirage with the senior high school, free senior high school. But well, if they've seen their mistakes and that they've seen that Ghanaians are not pleased with that statement and they are turning, good. But they turn back and they want to look at issues and make it look at it so bad.
You mean they want to look at some few excesses? Or
okay, we talk about the day schools. Nowhere in the campaign messages of the president, when he was the candidate, did we say that the e-blocks never existed? What we said was that where they've been cited will pose issues for the nation. And it's been manifested by the implementation of this program, where students have been sent to these schools and there are no accommodations because they are day schools. Day schools. And he rightly used an example. If the person from the Volta region has been posted to any or placed in any of these day schools, the person needs to find accommodation. But it's also so ridiculous when we want to say that, yes, if we talk about free education, everything should be free, even to the extent of buying them socks. Because if the person is a day student and he's in Asemkrom in the western region, and he stays in Asemkrom to attend the school in Asemkrom, he comes from a home. The home is rented by the parents. He is from the home. So if he moves out, it's a similar situation. So why would you want to say that if we are talking about free education, everything should be absolutely free? That is not the case. Then you talk about quality.
Do you get him? I don't know why you didn't ask him. You don't get him.
You talk about quality.
Do you get what he's saying?
We have tutors, all right?
So if a child is going to school, the parent is living in a house. The parent is living in a house.
I have some sort of questions to ask.
Abraham,
please make your point.
If you allow me to speak, because I sat here, I wasn't pleasant with whatever that you were saying. But I allow you to
just go ahead.
I am not directing to you. You know, in my intervention, it's against him because there was a point I made he didn't understand. And I'm asking you, do you understand? It's not you.
Of course, he understands. That's why
and so I wanted clarification.
So if he
okay, please go ahead, Mr. Pine.
So you see, back to the issue of quality. Now, what brings about quality?
Or non-quality?
Yes, we have.
What could bring about also non-quality?
We have qualified tutors in the classrooms. We are giving them textbooks. Other things that will make education good. Motivation to teachers. Supervision. When the minister rolled out the program, he read the comprehensive policy on where and when there are going to be supervisors and monitoring evaluation of the program. Comprehensive. We talk about equity. Who is being left out? The policy says if you are a Ghanaian and you qualify to enter, as we speak, apart from those who have not been placed and who are going to get placed, all of them are in there. Access. Yes, you talk about access that you need schools. And I always believe that if the NDC had gone on with the program by the Kufuor administration, where every district had a developed model school, we wouldn't have been faced with this day school syndrome that people need to go rent apartments before they can go to school. You're not saying
that sizing of those schools were wrong, are you?
The model schools or the
so my next range of questions. So that is where I believe the argument of your critics also come in, and I'm sure mainly they'll be with the NGOs, some few civil society organizations and those on the other side of the political divide. That when it comes to the three values or the three main objectives of equity, access, and quality, it's only equity perhaps that may have been fully met, in which everybody has that access, and so it's equitable for everybody from all demographics. But access, not everybody have got into schools of their choice. Not even everybody can get to those schools, and if you're a government, that should be your responsibility. And the quality could also mean that because they can't get that equitable access, it could also affect the quality of the output of the students. Hearing, we're talking about schools that have been built, E-blocks. So the argument is that they shouldn't have been built. Rather, we continue with the model schools. For example, I think in Kumasi we had one. Is it the one that starts with K? CAS. It's opposite the Polytechnic.
That's what I teach.
Okay, and I know there's a model school there because I did a documentary way back for the Ministry of Information back in 2008. Now, at the end of the day, we need to expand the educational infrastructure because the populations have increased. So you can't say that if it's Infantipim, we should expand Infantipim or expand CAS without building new schools for more communities that have. And so that's why perhaps maybe the NDC came in. If the NDC says that was the argument, then once they have E-blocks, then the next level of progression will be that they provide boarding facilities graduatedly. And I believe that would be the argument too. But if we want to implement this, shouldn't it be the responsibility of government and argue that, over time, these day schools would now be provided with boarding facilities selectively? That should be the argument rather, instead of convincingly saying that the whole policy is wrong.
We're not saying the policy is wrong. What I'm saying is that if we are going on with the model school program, definitely, when you go to maybe the Ketu South District,
Then Akachi Secondary School, for example, would have been.
with that expansion, would have catered for many of these students. When it comes to the Ashanti region, Western region, other places that had the opportunity, look at, I can use CAS, the school that you mentioned, as an example. Before the development of the school into a model school, it was difficult to even get people coming in. I have a class with about 80 students. A population of the school now is close to 4,000. A school that used to have about 500 students.
But that affects quality. And that is why the ingenuity is that you build more schools.
What I'm saying is that we have infrastructure and people are interested in bringing their kids there. With quality, it's not about only the schools. We know that, yes, with the education system in Ghana, we've graduated the schools A, B, C, I think D. So you take the St. Augustine's and the Achimotes and the rest, you place them in a pool, you take the others to another pool and that. But when we talk about the quality, we are looking at certain things. Do they have access to textbooks? Do they have quality tutors, trained professional tutors who are going to take them through? Are the teachers well motivated? These are matters that have been considered by this program. Okay? So it's not just that because the person is maybe senior high school C, that is because somebody is in B, therefore the person is going to have quality education. Then access, as you rightly put it, we have the schools. I know my village, for instance, let's say, to the second secondary school used to be the Trim Secondary School, have enough space. All right? So if we have developed it well, definitely people that might be interested in going there, they're not clamoring to go to Aquinas or to St. Augustine's or to Opokuware or to some other Tamale, Ghana, where it was the Ghana school, Ghana Secondary School, Tamale, that people want to go because that's one of the best schools in the northern region. So
and Navron to, I think, Navron.
It's over time. Then I remember the minister also saying that yes, where you have these C blocks. I also cite a school at Adobeira in the Ashanti region as an example. The communities that are supposed to feed the school, about 5 kilometers, 7 kilometers, the roads are bad. You don't even have trotters plying these roads. What you have motorbikes and the tricycles that they brought in. So how many people can access the place? So with time, if you're able to give them boarding facilities, and this is what the minister, Dr. Matupoku Papenapo, reiterated in his statement that yes, government is not going to leave these schools as such, but rather with time, we're going to provide them with some of these facilities. So it's a concerted effort. We need to go according to educational plans and make sure, where there are shortfalls, we remedy these situations.
As you add yours, Abraham, we've now even got into the point where it's even been captured on the biggest daily newspaper we have in Ghana, Daily Graphic, that the council of the Ghana Education Service will now even have to summon heads of schools because they may have been charging fees, etc. And we know some are paying PTA dues. Is it that those could not be avoidable and all?
Probably the council is thinking that the school administrators are not abiding by what the GES is saying, and so they want to rein them in. But the point I want to make is that I, sitting here, I'm a trained teacher. I'm a professional teacher, and I can say without any shred of doubt that what also affects quality is class size. So I want my colleague teachers to also know that class size, if the class is big, and sometimes the students in some schools you go, before even now, some students used to stand behind in some schools, they stand behind the windows and listen to lectures. That cannot be a good way of impacting knowledge to students. So class size, and so that is why we had to build more schools and not just limit ourselves to the existing schools. Now, the rationale for our building and citing the schools at these communities that they today are kicking against is this. Students used to move, like, say, 10 miles to the nearest school. Some would even cross crocodile-infested ponds. Some will have to swim before they can get to the next school. As a social democratic party, we said, no, send the school close to the people. Don't let somebody swim through a crocodile-infested pond to attend school. Then today we are being told that it is wrong to cite schools in community. I'm sure the communities are hearing that the schools we cited in your communities is wrong to send them there.
Nobody says so.
So for
Nobody
me,
says so.
I like the way you came
about,
Roland came about trying to intervene. That yes, these schools have been built so as to ensure that the schools are close to the communities. But now that you have come, can you add on by putting dormitories there? But don't bastardize what we did. It was good intentioned. Now the school, I gave an example, Keneshi Secondary School, Keneshi Secondary Technical. It's not one of the E blocks. Keneshi has been there since time immemorial. So if such an existing day school hasn't got a boarding facility and a student is sent in there, and you say that there's nothing wrong because already his father is living, is renting, so if he goes to Keneshi from Ho and is there too, he can rent. What kind of argument is that? The argument doesn't wash because you are compounding the financial woes of the.
But my intervention is that those numbers of students who fall in that category of perhaps those type of postings are few and far in between.
I don't think so.
We don't have to generalize. We don't have to generalize perhaps the placement and also the admissions to try to characterize the whole process with some of these isolated incidents. They will be isolated.
In that case, we should classify the whole exercise as successful. We are pointing out at challenges. What we are now doing is not to say that the program is bad, but how, and I prefix my submission by saying that let's address these teething problems, because it will not be equitable if one parent doesn't have to expend more and another parent has to expend more because of where you have sent his word. So I think that these are matters that I think we should address. But for our E-blocks, there was good reason and it was well-intentioned. If you are coming to build on it, just as how every government builds upon what he has come to meet. But don't bastardize what we did.
All right.
But Rolly.
No, I wanted to move on.
Yeah, we move on, okay. But nobody.
You just said that here.
That it was something bad. I said if we are built on the model schools,
we wouldn't be in the same.
And I also said that where some are cited, there's the difficulty for students to be there. And it's a fact. Yesterday I was watching one of your channels and they showcased the Daboya Senior High School where people had to swim across crocodile-infested
but why did you say it? Now that I've said it, you are using that against
this model school,
my submissions.
Ye blocks. But I also reiterate the fact that yes, the minister
says that over time
we're going to make sure they are provided with boarding.
I'm sure that by the close of the next 3 years.
With the example that I give about the child living at home, I'm just a reaction to the fact that they want to make it look as if that if even you are going to a day school, the government should make sure that where you sleep, even at home, is the responsibility of government.
This is submission.
That's the fallacy in whatever that they talk about. This submission
is not different from what the PRO of the Education Ministry said the last time when I heard him, I was shocked. The question as to how would students who do not live in the vicinities but they were sent there, how would they address that? You heard what he said, and it's akin to what he's saying. That parents should go to those communities and look for foster parents.
And you are saying that's going to compound the cost.
It's shocking how a public servant put in that office, but I think they've rehearsed, he and him are the same, that we should carry our children. So when my child is sent to Gushigu-Karaga, I should go to Gushigu-Karaga and I want a foster father. I want a foster father for my child. How can A public servant think that way.
And you are saying those are the teething
It's
problems. Okay.
You have resources. People pay taxes. Use the taxes to address the problem. And don't say parents should go for looking for.
Okay, let's do a minute. So now
foster
we'll be doing a segment next in which the Conference of Heads of Private Secondary Schools, they also want some kind of enjoyment of the cake. They have been left out. Their classrooms are almost empty. They've made huge investment. You're an educator. What do you think about it? Just a minute or so. The Deputy Minister says no way. But what do you think?
When you look at the system we
are running
have in Ghana, when it gets to the basic level, a lot of people patronize private schools, the basic level, before they write their BEC. But when it gets to senior high school education, over 90% do patronize public institutions. The policy is that people who get access to the public schools are those who are going to benefit from that. I believe when this matter started, the Private Schools Association should have engaged government in all of these matters.
You think they waited too long?
Of course, but it's still not too late because it's a process. We just started it. It's going to run if we have the will, the commitment, the nation supports it. It's going to run for several decades. So with time, they may be roped into. But I believe, yes, they should engage the ministry, they should engage government with their plans, what they can also do, what they feel should be the case. But definitely there are others who can also opt out for private education. I know parents who always want to have their wards even tutored at home. They bring teachers from places to come and teach them in their homes for their secondary education. I know several people who did that. So if you are talking about private schools not getting on to this program, yes, it's a fact that it happened that way. But definitely, once there's a government and once there are ministers there, they should engage them and make sure that, yes, these are our challenges. This is what we emphasize. This is what we want to be done. Let's look at it. Let's negotiate. Let's judge. At the end of it all, definitely there's going to be some way for them.
Please, a minute or two on the side of the private schools.
Well,
should we be posting, sending students to their places too?
I'm hearing that they should convert their schools into basic schools because more people go to the private basic schools than the SHS. That's what I got from his submission. But
how? I mean, why do you always want to interpret issues the way? I've told you that it's a fact too.
He's saying a trend. He's saying a trend. He hasn't said that they should convert their secondary. He said rather they should.
As a fact, please. As a fact.
You did this propaganda taking you to opposition. I don't want to learn anything from
You've never gone to opposition. People, when they talk as if when Ghana was formed,
it is from your own report. Your contributory report says that propaganda.
You have never gone to opposition.
Have you read the report?
The kind of communication.
Have you read that?
You have never gone to opposition. You have never been to opposition.
That the kind of
and when you hear the president speak as if he has never lost elections before. So they behave like everything started their time.
Okay, so
don't go that
you see, government has no business using public funds to support private ventures. That one, I will not agree.
Okay.
That our taxes, you use it and fund private person. It's just like saying that let's use public funds to resource Joy FM as against GBC.
So how do we complement that?
No. It's a choice they have made to be in the private sector. It's a choice they have made. What I think is that, but even look at, let me ask them, do they want what is happening? Government first said they were going to send monies to the public schools 2 weeks ahead of time. 2 weeks came, the money didn't go. Then they came and said they were going to send 50% a week too. Then that 50% turned to 20%. Even the 20%, as at last Tuesday, some said they haven't yet received it. Do they want to be in that situation? I think they should find innovative ways of trying to stay in business, but using public funds to support private ventures. I am against that.
All right, so let's move on to, there's this subject I've been meaning to speak to since the last 3 days. It's about the paperless system has been employed at the port. We're told that it's running 24 hours, I have a personal friend, and myself, I've been encountering the services within the period. And I'm told that it encountered some hiccups, but apparently it's better than what we had before. If well implemented also, it could improve the system drastically. But more so, I'm told that it's apparently very profitable too, compared to what we're running before. What do you say?
Yeah, that's anything that would take, or most businesses that would take the human interface out tends to give us some advantage. When they started this switch, you know, and even those who transact business with their smart cards at the banks. Now, this part of our world where people want to have deals with you face to face, so that at the end of it all, there will be some greasing of the palm. This is taken out. So the businessmen, the importers or the exporters who are into that business will definitely save something else. It also speeds up the processes. When you bring in drugs, for example, I'm not talking about the other medicines, for example, those who are supposed to inspect, those who are supposed to deal with compliance, those who are supposed to deal with standardizations are all at the same point. Therefore, the hour that you use, or the 10 minutes that you use with Roland, with Abraham, and with Sampai, the 10 minutes will be used by the three of us to make sure that things are quickened. Also, the tendency to avoid paying the appropriate taxes, that's where it brings in the profitability to state, where the profit, according to Auditor General report over the years, billions of cedis and dollars have been running through the palms of individuals
instead of
going to state coffers. Now, this is also avoidable, or is avoided by this paperless situation. Yes, when they started it, yes, I think for about 2 hours or so, there was some system upgrade, and therefore things were slowed down a bit. But as you said, it's improving. And I believe that yes, we should all give them the encouragement. Where it just started less than a month, I think it's about 14 days or so. They started on the 1st of September, so about 13 days, 14 days. Now, they're going through just a little baby, and I know that with time, they will improve upon the system. And once people are, those who use it now tell us that yes, it's better than previously. So if they think it's better and there's much improvement, yes, we are going to get the benefit of minimizing corruption at the ports, increasing revenues to state, and therefore benefiting the whole of the nation.
Well, looks like good. It's a system that started long before now, and if you look at the mainstream, it started with, of course, we had the West Blue that will come in and make sure that
the whole thing started under the West Blue contract, and indeed, it was because of this contract that the destination inspectors companies even voted against the NDC. In fact, I had a friend at the port who said that the policy we are bringing is creating some agitations. So when the vice president then speaks as if this is their baby and that it was better than last year, September, I want Sampine and Co. to talk to the vice president that he's now the vice president of Ghana. That was not how Professor Mills behaved. That's not how, what is his name, Aliu Muhammad behaved. We have seen vice president. He should stop the politicking and get to the work. What he should have done was to compare September to just last month when we didn't start. But if you compare it to the previous year, it looks like it is your baby. This whole project, NDC brought it. That's what you said. West Blue. It's an NDC project. It is even because of this that NDC was voted out. So when you now make it look like it's the MPP that brought a new system, some of us will put him right. But like he said, it's an improvement. In some countries, when you go, even joining a bus, you don't even have a conductor. There's no bus conductor. as a nation, we should strive to get to where there will be the human element will be out. I can understand the frustration that the port people are getting because they are not used to it. It's new, but as time goes on, they will get used to it. I only think that probably, according to them, and that's where I agree with them, there wasn't so much education as to how the system works, and that they were now calling for two months grace period for them to be educated well. They themselves, in principle, agreed to it. But I don't like the way the vice president went about it in his submission. I think that he can rise above that and let it. Now it's for the whole country.
Well, Mr. Malleable, I also want to put in a caveat. Usually, in financial terms, when they are making comparisons, it's done year on year. Okay, in financial terms, it's done year on year. You do year on year comparison. So perhaps the vice president may not have had any malice in his mind.
But you see, even there,
or you think that because he portrays the system,
even there, the year on year that you are talking about.
Because when you're comparing September, you compare September.
You know that every year, volumes go up. So I'm even sure that if we had even maintained the old system, the old system, not even this paperless thing, this year's volumes would have been higher than last year.
In other words, you're saying September 2016 wouldn't have been the same
with
like
September
15.
Okay. We all grew.
I get your point. I know you're trying to buttress the argument with what I'm putting. But all that you're saying is that there should be an acknowledgement that this is a whole transition and a system that started from way back.
The way back. But when you make it look like it is you brought it and that Ghana is working again. Anytime they do those things, they say Ghana is working again.
You don't like it?
Ghana was not working.
Really?
Yes, sir.
In December 2016, did we have any paperless system?
But it's a transition. It's a system.
No, it is part of the contract.
We didn't.
Hey, look at
so if we translate into paperless, yes.
But the system started way back.
Even
the contract was put under some political lenses over the period.
Of course. And even not the West Blue alone, this issue of making sure that the inspection is quicker, revenues are accrued better.
I remember they brought the NIC scanners and all that.
Yes. So it's been a transition. Now we are into the paperless. What we are talking about, is it good or bad? What are the challenges that they are facing? And I believe that was the question that you asked. We never wanted to attack the persons of people. We know what Prof. Mills and Sata as vice president did. Certain things that we can also talk about. But this is the vice president. He says, yes, we are into paperless. He has a comparison of what happened last year and now.
But
people feel jittery with all that.
Abraham's point is that the vice president, in his submissions, tend to portray a situation as if that, well, it is because of the system which has made things better and that the old one was bad, etc. But I think he was trying to put things into perspective. Because there was a certain foresight and a certain vision to make sure we come to this point. And it may not necessarily have been started by the NPP.
When some of these done paperless within
when some of these operators at the ports were chanting, people were posting those videos on social media about the.
Well, that's why the NDC.
That is consistency because they voted us out.
I'm talking about. You talk about consistency, but meanwhile, in another breath, you talk about them that they accept in principle that that's something good.
They have said that, don't you listen to them?
So if now they are blaming us, that yes, we brought a system that they don't understand, they need to be educated on. That's why you applaud. But if we tell you, yes, it's improved revenues over that period, that's something that the vice president...
You don't get his argument, do you?
Shouldn't speak on. You see, it becomes... I just simply do not get it because this is the reality. Is it a reality or not? Let's question that. That what the vice president said, is it a reality or not? Is it that the paperless has improved revenues and that
every year revenues improve at the port?
It's not a fact that every year that revenues improve. Yes, every year. Maybe
because
we increasing taxes maybe to account for that. But I know now that some taxes on some other products have been lowered as per the laws in Parliament now passed in September. But there's also the possibility that volumes should go down. So it's not always the fact that every year volumes go up. It depends on even the products that they bring in. All right. So you go to the business community and they can talk about that. But the most important thing is that, are we now using the paperless system? Is it working for the nation? Have we gotten benefits from that? How are we doing with the little challenges that we're facing now with the system? That's the most important thing as a nation that we need to address. But not the person, somebody says, yes, we improved revenue over that period as compared to September.
And Abraham, I remember during the Kufa administration, they started export key expansion projects. And then the Mahama administration also now has expanded or awarded a contract in which now we have greater expansion of the port. Even Gapoa could even borrow on their own finances, etc., or their own revenues. That is going to improve vastly, not only cargo handling, but even transportation of the goods. Remember, it's even affecting the lanes linking the harbour in itself, even improving access roads to the motorway and all that. That should be a good thing, wouldn't you say?
No, there's nothing wrong with improvement. So for me, I even think that as it is now, the landlocked countries that hitherto were relying so much on the Ivory Coast because that port was more efficient than ours, those nearer us will prefer using us, you know, and that again is going to increase revenue and the volumes of goods. When you talk about the Sahelian countries, Burkina Faso, Mali, thereabout, they are closer this way than going to Ivory Coast. So the port expansion, the improvements that we are seeing now are all part of the entire system of improving the ports. Our airports are also being expanded, you know. The Kotoka International Airport, there's vast expansion, and I'm sure this government is so continuing with it. So it all inures to the good of Ghana. But I think that we shouldn't make it look like it is now that things have started happening. Things were there, you've come, you continue. So you acknowledge it, but don't make it look like it wasn't happening at all. That's my problem. Not that I'm saying that they shouldn't
all right,
be.
So that'll be for the discussions this morning. Thank you, gentlemen. Did you go to the Unity Walk over the weekend?
The Unity? No, I wasn't there.
I mean, you're not a John Mahama person.
Why?
I'm asking because I know.
I am for John Mahama.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So we've had in the studio Abraham Amaliba. He's a legal practitioner and also a member of the NDC's legal team. Thanks for joining me, Abraham. Grateful always having you in the studio. And Sampine is also the regional secretary for the MPP. He's an educationist, instructor if he was in the US, a teacher or lecturer in Ghana. Thank you very much.
So why haven't they given Sampine appointment yet? Why?
Why haven't you gotten an appointment?
I'm not seeking any appointment.
Okay, so he's not seeking any appointment. But
I'm doing party work, and you see, a stronger party builds a stronger government.
So that's what you're doing. Is it not because you were denied?
No.
That's what Abraham wants to know.
I wasn't denied.
Okay. Were you giving options that you denied? You said that I didn't want.
Definitely.
Okay.
It's my choice to work for the party.
All right. So you want to work for the party in Ashanti? Yeah. Increase the votes?
Definitely.
NDC wanted 1 million the other time.
And we are decreasing it for them. And they know that.
All right. Free senior high school might be a new thing for parents in the southern parts of the country. But for those guardians and parents in the 3 northern regions of Ghana who have seen the implementation of the Northern Scholarship Program, it's just another initiative which might also fail if government does not make funds available for the program.